It might be hard to believe, but witches haven't always been the cool, sexy, campy pop culture icons they are today. Throughout human history, panics have erupted over the possible existence of witches among us, and crusades against witchcraft have claimed countless lives. Historians estimate that between 40,000 and 100,000 people were tried and executed as witches, and there was no shortage of messed up injustices perpetrated in the process. Here's a look back at the worst witch-hunting moments of all time. Johannes Kepler's mother. You've heard about the work of Johannes Kepler, the guy who developed the theories of important stuff like planetary motion and magnification. NASA even named a spacecraft after him. Just imagine how much more he could have accomplished if he hadn't taken a sabbatical to defend his mother against witchcraft charges in 1620. Katharina Kepler, a 68-year-old widow, was accused by her neighbors of classic witchy moves like sickening them with poisons, paralyzing a 12-year-old girl's finger, and turning herself into a cat, which kicked off a trial that lasted 6 years. Kepler moved from Austria to Germany to take over his mother's defense, using science to convince authorities that his mother should be set free. Unfortunately, Katharina still spent 14 months being tortured and chained to the floor of her jail cell while her son fought for her life, and she passed away 6 months after the end of her trial. Karma is for suckers. What happens when a bratty kid causes the demise of 7 innocent people? Not much if it happened during the height of Scotland's witch-hunting frenzy. Christian Shaw, an 11-year-old girl, caught her family's maid drinking milk without permission, and soon after that, Christian was supposedly having fits, floating around the room and coughing up everything from eggshells to hot coals. Yeah, sure she was. Encouraged by her family, the girl accused 21 men, women, and children of witchcraft, and 7 of them, including the milk-drinking maid, were found guilty. One of the men took his own life, the rest were executed. And Christian Shaw? She got married and lived to a ripe old age as a wealthy and successful businesswoman, which seems kind of unfair in the scheme of things. The archbishop and the witch judge. In the 1580s, people in the German city of Trier were positive that the whole area was overrun with witches, resulting in such a mass epidemic of executions that soon there weren't really enough women left alive to accuse. This led some people to start doubting that every woman in a 10-mile radius was really a witch, but we all know what kind of people they were.
For witches!
Enter Diedrich Flotta, a judge tasked with sentencing some of these so-called witches. Unfortunately for Flotta, he wasn't convinced that they all deserved to be executed. Some of the women were given light sentences, while others were set free entirely, and it didn't take long for him to attract the wrong kind of attention. Soon enough, he was tortured and executed, but according to Cornell University professor George Burr, Flotta's days were probably numbered no matter what, because in addition to being much too skeptical about witches, he was getting in the way of the political aspirations of the archbishop at the time. The Affair of the Poisons. This scandal began in 1676 with Louis XIV, who became fearful of being poisoned after violence erupted at the French court. 34 people met their end before all was said and done, but the most noteworthy was Catherine Deshaye, also known as La Voisin, a poor woman who made her fortune concocting toxic poisons for would-be assassins. When her home was raided as a part of the king's investigation, they found all kinds of witchy wares, including nail clippings, bones, blood, and various other bodily excretions. La Voisin was arrested in 1679, and she not only admitted she was into some shady stuff, but that her clientele included the nobility, which just goes to show that the king's fears were not entirely unfounded. It's not paranoia if they really are out to get you, Louis. As for the main conspirator, she was arrested and burned as a witch, and eventually became the subject of a very campy French film depicting her scandalous downfall. So at least there's that. The professional witch finder. Matthew Hopkins started his witch-hunting career in 1644 when he moved to Essex and immediately claimed he'd overheard a handful of women discussing witchcraft. Of the 23 he accused, none survived, which was enough for Hopkins to declare himself Witchfinder General and go pro, convicting and executing hundreds of women. He made a fortune doing it, and he helped himself along with shady practices, like stabbing accused witches with fake retractable knife blades to prove that they didn't bleed like normal people.
The mark of Satan is upon them.
No one's sure what became of Hopkins, but his reign of terror was the subject of a low-budget Vincent Price horror biopic in the 1960s, and some people say his ghost still haunts Mistley Pond in Essex, where he hopefully hears people talking every day about what a total jerk he was. Thanks for watching. Click the grunge icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel, plus check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.